Back to the second half of the program Politics Tonight. We turn our focus to the future of leadership in Nigeria ahead of 2027 elections. The call for selfless and inclusive governance has never been louder, and the stakes for our nation's progress could not be higher. Joining us to explore this crucial topic ahead of another crucial election year is Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Sam Kargbo. Together, we're discussing what it really takes to lead a diverse nation like Nigeria towards unity, development, and lasting prosperity. SCN, thank you very much for joining me on the program. Good to have you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me this evening. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you too. Thank you very much. So as Nigeria looks forward to the next election, which is next year, the nation faces one critical question. Nigerians are asking, can our leaders rise above division and vested interest? Can our leaders rise above party differences? The APC, PDP, Labour Party, ZLP, NNPP, ADC, put national unity and the welfare of all Nigerians above ethnicity, religion, or region. So in practical terms, what does selfless and inclusive leadership look like in the Nigerian context?
Thank you very much. I think you've covered the field with much of the topics that you taught. I would start by saying, before answering your question, that leadership affects all of us and in every aspect of our lives. Good leadership is imperative for us to progress as individuals, as communities, and as a country. And luckily for us, we've had a long history of successive democratic governance from about 2000 and from 1999 to date. That's a long enough period for us to have evolved and generate a governance system that would answer your questions. I am hopeful, like you asked whether the politicians would act in accordance with the aspiration of the people. I would say that's my own dream for them to do, because the world that we have today is not one that would tolerate indolent leadership or visionary leadership. Every day for today's leader, if he is indeed to play the catch-up, which is very necessary, should be one focused entirely on development and the enhancement of a national psychology that would be focused towards not just unity, but for collective development. We need that. It is imperative. It is necessary. And without that, our Somalia is just next door.
That's not what we want as a nation. As I'm asking you, when we say Nigeria needs leaders who are selfless and fair to everyone, what exactly are we talking about? And also, thinking about it, much of Nigeria's problem is this unity between tribes, religions, and regions. And when you look back, since independence, these divisions have created competition for political power, economic resources, even cultural recognition. That's why federal character is still a conversation today. People are talking about rotational presidency, and that comes up like every 4 years. Identity politics is a defining feature of our political landscape. Most times you also consider that much of these factors fuel conflicts and hinder what we call our collective progress. So in your view, why has this unity lasted so long?
Well, yes, we would get a selfless leader who would grow above his tribe, who would grow above his region, grow above his class, grow above his religion, to focus on a pan-Nigerian project. That's the selfless leader that we need. But coming back to your question, why we have this, you see, Nigeria was assembled from on top downwards. The various nationalities that make up Nigeria were never really involved in the creation of the state called Nigeria as we know it today. The British came, manipulated the pre-colonial communities, feasted on their own weaknesses and their own vulnerabilities, and created a state that we now know today as Nigeria. And in negotiating that state, they only dealt with the elite. They never really dealt with the nationalities that make up Nigeria. And what do you have? You have a tension between the state that has been created and the nationalities themselves. Because first, every Nigerian sees himself, first and foremost, he's as the nation that he belongs to. If he is Yoruba, he is rightly entitled to look at himself first as Yoruba, because Yoruba is real. It is not something esoteric or something imagined, but the state called Nigeria, it's an imaginary concept. So for you to have all of these energies diverted from those ethnic nationalities into the pan-Nigerian project, you must live above, you must be exemplary, you must be seen as one who can be trusted and indeed be trusted. And the only way you can be trusted is for you to be fair to every constituent. If you are a governor, you have to be fair to every part of the state. And if you're a president, you have to be fair to every community in the country. The length and breadth of Nigeria is looking at the center for direction. And that direction is key, because without that direction, you would say all of us will just be coasting on. And when we meet the storms, what happened? We recede. And that is what has been happening. We need that leader. We need the leader that would actually take decisions that are necessary, a courageous one as that, a leader who will not sleep over issues but take decisions. And I am hopeful that the president that we have will continue in the path he has actually been on, because he's been taking decisions that we feel they've long been waiting to be taken.
And because I do not want to, generalize, but it's also important for me to say that it's clear to everyone that many Nigerians, many politicians rather, prioritize staying in power over the nation's long-term interest. But all thanks to the Constitution, it would have been worse. In your view, SAN, how can Nigeria cultivate leaders who put the country above personal ambition? Is this more about changing the leaders themselves, or changing that system, or the system that rewards short-term gains?
I think we have to rehumanize ourselves, because the leaders are coming from us. And the cliche is that a leader is as good as the people from whom he is from. You get the leader that you deserve. Our value system have been corrupted, and that influence our governance system and the idols and the gods that we create. Leadership in Nigeria is facing so many challenges. Challenges, first and foremost, with the people themselves, the way they conceptualize or understand leadership to be. A majority of us believe that being a leader means you are going to take from the center to bring to us. When you don't, we say you have what? Disappointed us, or you've sold out. There is hardly anybody who does not really believe that a leader is a representative to go and take from the national cake and bring to their own end. But that's not the purpose of a leader. A leader is a general. A leader is indeed a leader, a direction captain, somebody to take you from one point to the other, and somebody who protects you, your shepherd, your protector, your lifesaver. That's the leader. It's not somebody who comes to what? Prioritize or play favorite games with you. Until we change that, until we see, we put up higher standards for what we can take as acceptable minimum standard for public service, we may not be able to have the leader that will take us from where we are today. I can tell you for free that much of the problem is with us, and it's not actually from without. Yes, we can externalize this problem and blame it on the leaders solely, but I can tell you, change the leaders by the day, all of them would be buoyed by what? This national malaise of
All right.
what we
Let's
as
stay on that,
individuals have as
SAN.
moral standards.
Let's stay on
Yes.
that, SAN, because the truth is, I mean, as a nation, I believe we cannot continue to lie to ourselves, because the truth is this country has struggled with corruption and misuse of public office for decades. Also, another truth which can coexist. The truth we've also told ourselves silently is that embezzlement of public funds, bribery, nepotism, and lack of accountability amongst our leaders, especially political leaders, even ordinary Nigerians, are issues that have undermined our economic developments. These factors or these challenges have weakened our institutions. They have also discouraged foreign investments and also erodes public trust in government. We have anti-corruption agencies, but enforcement is inconsistent. And another challenge is political interference. So you cannot totally blame them. How then do we reconcile, the idea of selfless leadership with this reality of systemic corruption?
Well, you see, it is because we look at the mechanism for handling or curbing corruption from that vertical compass, which is to say, the laws and their enforcement. But I can tell you for free, I think I've had the opportunity to write a lot on this, calling on people to say, even if we have the best of prosecutorial agencies or anti-corruption agencies that could beat the best in the world, we still have corruption because corruption is in our own DNA. Corruption here is corruption only when it does not what benefit us. It's not about not doing it, but who is doing it and who benefits. These are the issues. Until we ourselves, I'm emphasizing this, we rehumanize ourselves. We've come short of what the Bible would say, come short of the glory of God. This is the reality. The reality is corruption seems to be in our DNA. If you take away, clarify the entire society and take out corruption economy, this country may collapse overnight because many people, they believe that corruption is okay when it suits them. Look at them. Arrest a political office holder today who has what? Taken all the money meant for their roads, money meant for their schools, money meant for their health, money meant for their own security, and pockets it and lavish it to their own families and their cronies. You arrest him today, they'll be the ones to be on the street to say, "Oh, leave him, he's our own." What would come in between? Narratives that what are protective of him and give it a slant as to say he's not the only thief. What about the others? Others too are stealing. Why should you single him out? You find out that when that person perhaps is arrested and he's released, you see the whole community going back there rolling drums for him. And this eggs them on until we have a situation whereby we know that your society will ostracize you, your family will ostracize you, your wife will not touch you with the longest spoon where he knows that what? You are living on what? Filth. But we don't have that. We've not been able to accede to such standard. And what do we have? We have people who are licentious, break-handeds, bandits in governance. You see people, they're ready to sell the nations using the cover of their offices. That is why banditry is still what? Festering. That is why terrorism is so difficult to curb. Because what? You have connivers from within the governance system. And why that's so? Because they are benefiting and they are ready to sell the nation, and they've been selling the nation without blinking. Their communities know, their families know. You see somebody who was what? A pauper yesterday, somebody who was barely living. He becomes a minister. Tomorrow what? He's dealing in billions of nairas, if not in dollars. And nobody says anything. And he's given the red carpet. He's given what? The front seat in what do you
All
call
right.
it, public gatherings, and even in what?
All right.
Churches. So how would you curb that?
All right, then, Esian. I mean, you know better than us. Yeah? I mean, I'm using myself as an example here. What role should, so two questions before I let you go. What role should the judiciary play in enforcing accountability amongst our leaders? And when you also flip the coin, what role should ordinary Nigerians play in fostering unity in a diverse country like ours? What message would you give ordinary Nigerians who feel powerless in the face of political and social disunity?
Of the two, the people can play a better role. The judiciary, if I will start with that, are helpless because what? They are not proactive. They would only sit in the courts waiting for you to bring your conflicts, if waiting for you to bring your suspects. They cannot on their own sit in their chambers or in the open court to call on even the executive to do their job. It is only when you bring suspects before them and try them that they become active. The only message for them is that they should not, at that instant and at that stage, also be corrupted. Because when they are corrupted, what do you have? They let this criminal go. And once one criminal is allowed to go on the basis of either technicality or because what a judge or
All
a
right.
judge or a justice have been corrupted, what do you have? You strengthen the arm of corruption. And for the people, I would say this: until we start ostracizing these people, dealing with them in a manner that we know they should be dealt with. Look at Korea. If you are a politician, you are down the pecking order of what? Social relevance. But if you are a farmer and a hard-working individual, you are more respected. Your
All
children
right,
are
then.
more respected in school than the rich man out there.
All right, then. I mean, clearly, as the country approaches 2027, the call is clear. The country needs leaders who are selfless, inclusive, and committed to the common good. Thank you very much for speaking with me tonight. Political affairs analyst, lawyer, SAN, Mr. Sam Kargbo. Thank you so much for your time. And please have a great evening. Thank you
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
God bless you.
And thank you very much for watching, everyone. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But before we go, let's tell you that the views and reactions of our resource persons are theirs and have no connection with TVC News. Meanwhile, you can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode at 12:30 a.m. Get in touch with us on our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, and X at TVC News NG and at Olajumoke using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News NG. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Good night, everyone, and I wish the Super Eagles all the very best. Thank you for watching, everyone.